Okay. Dr. Joe Dispenza. Today we're looking at a part where he's talking about learning to reconnect with your feelings on Chris Williamson's YouTube channel, on Chris's podcast.
I want to show you a clip of Theo Von with Sean Strickland. So Sean Strickland is the current UFC middleweight champion. And in a podcast with the two of them, he talks about some trauma that he's been through in his past.
You know what I'm talking about? Huh?
Yeah, man.
Have you ever heard that? Yeah, I'm sorry, bud.
So, man.
I'm sorry, buddy. We don't have to talk, man. I can just sit here with you for a minute.
Oh, fuck. I think it's one of the hard things that people don't understand, like trauma, you know?
Yeah.
What do you see when you look at that?
So obviously now, being August 2024, Sean Strickland is no longer the UFC champ. It's Dricus Duplessis. But this is when he first beat Israel Adesanya. And being the champ, or even before he was a champ, he was on a lot of people's podcasts. Sean Strickland, that is. And a lot of the podcasts, you know, because the people that are doing the interviewing, they're always asking, like, the other person, what is your background? And then in Sean Strickland's case, he had a traumatizing background as a child. His dad was physically abusive to him, and he used that as a motivator, or as motivation, to become a UFC champ. So he took a negative situation from a negative environment and turned it to as positive as he could. So good on Sean. Now we're going to listen to Dr. Joe and Chris's thoughts on trauma in general.
Oh, I see a real vulnerable moment for somebody, really vulnerable moment. Yeah, I think childhood trauma is, I think probably the biggest trauma for many people to overcome, because children, their brain waves are very slow. I mean, in alpha, in theta, and information goes in very quickly right into their subconscious. And I think that we figure out adaptive ways to not have to feel those emotions or not have to look at that past, but we're always aware of it. It's always there, right? But we don't really have a moment where we fully allow ourselves to experience it. And I think he had a moment where, by association, he let himself be vulnerable, which I think is great.
That video is, every single time I watch it, is very difficult to.
Sorry, I think some neighbours outside are having a party right now. It's like 7:30 on a Tuesday night here in Sydney, Australia. And two people are absolutely going off outside, so sorry about the distraction, but the show must go on.
Watch for me, and it's twofold. It's first off, someone that's become a professional hard person, right? He just punches people in the face. He likes violence. Him opening up and him struggling, and then Theo saying, "It's okay, man. We don't need to talk. We can just sit here for a while if you want." It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I think uncertainty, and I think that moment of vulnerability needs space. I think it needs space, and it needs time for the person to sit in that and allow themselves to fully feel it, right? That's how it. You sit in it long enough, it goes away. it finally goes away.
What's your advice for somebody playing the Theo role? Someone's having a conversation with somebody else who is on the verge of opening up. They're on the cusp of feeling something uncomfortable or trying to open up about it. How can someone hold space more effectively?
This is a good question, especially now in 2024. You know, depression and mental illness, despite the degree of the illness, could be just day-to-day mental stress, or someone could be in the depths of deep mental illness. So this is a very good question to any of us. From time to time, we might be called on to listen to a friend, to a mate. How can we be the best for the person that wants to express themselves like Sean did to the other guy?
Oh, I think all people really want to do is feel safe and feel loved, So again, I think he played that really, really well, and that is just let that person know that you're there for them and give them the room to go as far as they want to go, and some people feel really safe when that happens, and I think they release it.
I think that's very good. So prior to Chris asking that question, one thing that Dr. Joe brought up was the longer you sit through those emotions, not wade through them and get depressed by them, but just sit by yourself or with a friend, eventually they go away as part of the healing process, which is different from sitting in that emotion, remembering those negative experiences and replaying them for the purpose of replaying them, or just being stuck in the cycle of misery. The type of sitting with those negative feelings that Dr. Joe is talking about is sitting there to work them out. So you let the emotions run, you express them, even if it's to yourself if you don't have a mate. Express them over and over again until they go away. Because during that process, what you're doing is you're becoming at ease with it. You're accepting things that you cannot change. And then you move on. And then sitting with a friend, well, that's just going to make the whole recovery process or the healing process even more powerful, because you will know that you're not alone. And a lot of people suffering in depression or mental illness, that's where one of their problems is when they try to process stuff, is that they believe that it's only them. There's no one else to turn to. I'm the only one that experiences this. Soon as you find another person that has the exact same type of struggle, you feel comforted because now there's two of you joined together to overcome the past sorrows. Imagine if you found 3, 4, 5, 10 people on that pathway of recovery. How much stronger will you feel just because during your weekdays when you're feeling down, you can rely on those around you. And he talked about feeling safe and feeling loved. One thing that I know about, say like in relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, especially with the females, women, out of all the things that men can provide to a woman, like you got finances, you got security, you got children, you've got romance, you've got, everything to do with good love. Sorry. Random alarm going off in the middle of the video. Out of all the things that a man can provide to a woman, the number one thing over the eons of time that a woman really needs, respects, and desires from a man is safety. Not that the woman's weak and needs a man to protect her, or that she can't feel safe without a man. But if the man is a person that provides a space for her to feel safe, then that just fulfills the number one need for a woman since the beginning of women. So men, we have to act safe. We have to act safe by being safe. That will strengthen an already strong woman or a woman that hasn't experienced that type of safety. And it will allow her to create together with us things that we can't do by ourselves. We need two to regenerate life, for example, and other things. In the modern era, we can talk about when the woman feels safe and confident by herself independently of a man, and then finds someone that is equally as safe, responsible for her, then she will reach her greatness. And as a byproduct, so will our relationships with women.
You mentioned before about this discomfort with feeling feelings. And we live in a world which is very good at distracting us from feeling feelings. There are a whole host of drugs, philosophies, technologies, ways of thinking that can distract us away from feeling feelings. And if there's somebody that's listening to this and thinking to themselves, I don't think I'm feeling my feelings that fully, how can someone get back in the rhythm of feeling their feelings again?
Yeah, you got to sit with yourself. You got to take your device and set it in the other room. You got to shut it off and feel without that thing. And you got to think for yourself. And I think that kind of art of contemplation has been lost, because I think that process of self-reflection kind of is a building process neurologically in our brains. And so to we joke all the time with people who go through a week-long event. I say to them, when's the last time you sat with you this long till you finally like you? You sit with yourself long enough, those feelings are going to come up. They will come up, because you have nothing to do. You have nothing to do. Your inner world and how you're thinking and how you're feeling is going to become very obvious to you.
How powerful is that? Like the question that he asked. How long ago was it when you sat with yourself for this long and just reflected upon you, who you are, what your identity is, which means where you come from, where you are today, and where you're going tomorrow? How long can you actually sit with yourself and love it? Just like sitting with your best friend, maybe your spouse, your girlfriend, or people you like to talk to. Do you love yourself as much as you love your bestie or your missus or whoever you love? Do you love your own company? If not, why not? What can we do about it? If you do love being with yourself because you're a champion, spend more time with yourself and think of other ways that you can create more areas to develop from you.
And so I think people ask all the time, well, why is my health condition like this? What are the thoughts? What are the feelings that I need to change? It's really simple. Sit with yourself, and you'll know exactly what it is that you need to change. So, I think you got to create the time to invest in yourself. One of the things that I've discovered with many people that tell us stories of transformation is that they kind of have this kind of belief, like, I believe this stuff works. I just never believed it could work for me. I mean, that's a really, really fundamentally key moment in a person's evolution, because that means they actually have to change their belief. And that's sometimes, that means they got to come out of the resting state and they got to choose themselves every day.
I see that with a lot of things, that's something that's nice, but for other people. That's something which I believe could be true. The data seems to be true, but that's not for me.
See, I don't have that problem, eh? I don't know if anyone else listening has that problem where, I've listened to people and they feel like they're not worthy or they don't deserve it. It's baffling to me, but if you feel that way about yourself, then you're wrong. Just straight up, you're wrong. You deserve whatever you feel like you deserve. You are worthy not because of the outside world or whatever external influences there are that may justify your position on planet Earth. That's not what makes you worthy. What makes you worthy are your own words. You don't have to prove yourself to anyone. You don't have to say, oh, because of graduated from this university doing that major, now I'm worthy, now I'm qualified. You're already worthy and qualified when you were born. So go get the life that you want and stop needing to feel worthy or validated or reaching someone else's external qualification. It's you. You are qualified.
Yeah.
The weight loss isn't for me. The transformation isn't for me. The relationship that's healthy isn't for me. The group of friends that genuinely want the best for me isn't for me. It's like solipsism in a way.
It's persistent disbelief.
Yes, but only around you.
Of course. But all there is you. So that person then who's arguing for some limitation just doesn't believe that they can change their life. They don't believe that their thoughts have something to do with their destiny. They don't believe in possibility because they don't believe in themselves. You cannot believe in possibility without believing in yourself. And if you believe in yourself, that means you got to believe in possibility. And that means then you got to do something. You got to get off the couch. You got to get up and you got to get engaged in your world. And you got to be a creator in your life and instead of a victim in your life. Now, that's an easy thing to say, but it means you have to carve out some time for you. I mean, and if you invest in yourself and invest in your future. Do it.
So that's the third time or fourth time he's brought up the word invest or the phrase invest in yourself. When you invest in yourself, you're investing in your future. And I talked in the previous video about your body needing to come back to the state, like the resting state for the body and the brain. That state is known as homeostasis. The opposite state is the survival state. So back in the wild before technology, they experienced those two states. They were either in survival because they were hunting or being hunted, or they were in homeostasis, a resting state. Only when they were in the resting state could they create. I'm talking about prehistorical humans. Only in the resting state can your brain and body focus on creating more life around you. I mean, sure, you can create stuff when you're under stress. The quality of the creation in comparison to the quality of the creation that you make in the homeostasis state, chalk and cheese, totally different outcomes, input and outcomes.
It and get uncomfortable and know that that's normal, that's natural, that's the unknown. Okay, if I keep making the same choices, I'm going to keep having the same health condition. If I keep doing the same things, I'm going to still have the same level of abundance. Okay, so I got to start making changes. It's not that hard to do it if you really want to do it. I mean, if you really want to do it, then you'll invest in yourself. Now, for me, I think everybody to some degree, Chris, believes that they have a hand in creating their life, unless they've had a really, really horrible childhood and past. But on some level, people believe it, right? So people say, well, yeah, okay, so I believe that I can get the car, I can get the vacation, I can get the new home, I can get the relationship, I can get the second home, I don't know, whatever it is that people want. But the way they're going to do it is, okay, I'm going to work really hard. I'm going to study a lot. There's nothing wrong with this, by the way. I'm going to be trained. I'm going to learn. I'm going to make a bunch of wrong choices. I'm going to learn from my mistakes. And then I'm going to get really good at gathering a lot of things and doing these things. Okay, I've created a certain degree in my life. But people who really, really start shortening the distance between the thought of what they want and experience of having it, something changes. They may say, oh, I have the belief that I create my life in some way. But is it possible that it's more than the synchronicity? You know, more than the parking space, more than thinking of a friend and they call you. Like, everybody kind of accepts that as kind of, oh, that's possible. Well, why don't I take it to the next level? I mean, what if you could actually do more of that? Like, is that a belief that you can begin to embrace? So that means if you believe that on some level, that you can create something greater of greater magnitude, of greater amplitude, that means then you'd have to get involved in the experience a little bit more. That means I'd have to believe, how could I possibly do that? Like, what would it take for me to do that?
And that's the second time I've heard this today, actually, talking about synchronicities when you're working in the law of manifestation. Just before making this video, I was listening to another podcast with Chris Williamson's YouTube channel. He was interviewing Alex Hormozi. Alex Hormozi is a multi-millionaire. He's on his way to being a billionaire. That's his goal. But he talked about the distance between you thinking or dreaming a dream and bringing that dream into reality. Exactly what Dr. Joe here is talking about. And Alex talked about how when the distance between what you think and it becoming true is instant, say like he used the example of the Christian God in the Bible, as God thought something, it came. He thought it, he said it, and it came into reality. A lot of times when we're reaching out for our goals, we've been thinking about them, dreaming about them for years. So the gap is still years away where some of our dreams are yet to be fulfilled. what Dr. Joe is talking about, what Alex was talking about as well, is shortening the gap between what you think and it being done by you in a smaller space of time. And eventually, hopefully, when we get to a position of we think something and it's done, that'll be a great life. Anyway, that's the video for today. Family, thank you, life. Life is the creator of all things. That is the purpose of life, to create more life. Who are we doing everything that we're doing? Everything that we're doing for? For each other, for you. You are my who.